All right, guys, so I have the vocals exported into the session that we've been working with, and I've copied and pasted out the second verse of that as well. So I have a very clear picture of where things are going with the track. In this video, we're going to do some rough vocal mixing, and that's the first thing I'll mix really in any track, because I don't want to do my synth layers. I don't want to do all that stuff that's going to make the instrumental bigger until I know how the vocal is going to sit. So everything else I'll do a static mix for, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the tutorial course. But right now I have a vocal chain put on the vocals, on the lead vocals of the track, and that's the Luna Blake Fox, this one right here. So I'll call this first verse so we can actually see what's going on. This will be hook. And so let's talk about this plugin chain real quick, because this is a really common chain to use, and I want to talk about what kind of some of the things that I've learned over the years, trial and error on vocals. So first thing I'll run it into, and I will run it into a, when I do the final mix and final print, I will run, instead of the Slate virtual channel that you see here on screen, I will run the vocals into a UAD SSL board or Neve board emulation, because it sounds a little bit richer to my ear. But first thing I have it hit is some type of channel emulation. And you don't need this. This is kind of excessive. You definitely don't need this on every vocal track. But Slate virtual channel, you have a British Neve, you have a Trident, you have a USA board. I don't know what board that would actually be emulating, but yeah, that's the first thing it runs to. It just kind of adds a little bit of quote unquote analog sound or character to your track. Obviously, it's still digital, but that's the first thing I have it running into. Now, the second plugin that I have the vocals running into is FabFilter Pro Q2. This is a equalizer plugin. You could just as easily use the equalizer in your DAW that comes with your DAW. It's fine, doesn't matter. But I like using this one. I've gotten used to using it. So what I have here is I have a low cut, and this is cutting out everything in the low frequencies of the track. So that's like hum. That's parts of the track that you don't really need for a vocal, especially a female vocalist.
They say that there's no such thing as fate, but I don't trust much of anything that comes from mouths that I can't see or touch. But
okay, so there's 72 hertz and under. Her voice isn't going to really be there under about, as we hear it, from about probably 75 hertz and under, because that's the sub range. So if I have this off, listen to the hum at the beginning.
They say that there's no such.
There's some low rumble hum. You don't want that. It's going to muddy up the mix, so I've taken that off. And I've done some very, very minor EQ to the rest of the spectrum, but nothing crazy. And then the next plugin that I'll run a vocal into is a de-esser. And this is to get nasty like hisses and T's and P's, kind of, you can affect it either way. And if you watch this, listen to her vocals when she says like an S, and watch when this does. When this is actually applying the effect to the sound. A de-esser is basically like an equalizer meets a compressor that zeroes in on a limited range of frequencies, like S's and T's.
They say that there's no such thing as fate, but I don't trust.
Right, it just cleans up the vocalist. Listen to it without.
They say that there's no such.
More sibilance on the S's.
They say that there's no such.
So yeah, helps clean that up. Now that's something that I'll always run into. So these first three plugins, I don't look at as actually mixing. They're just kind of an extension of cleaning up the vocal sound. Now the next plugin that I like to use, and I love this, if you guys saw that Chainsmokers video, they use this, the Chris Lord Algae CLA vocals. This is made by Waves, and I think you can get it for $39. I would strongly suggest getting this plugin. It sounds great on vocals. Waves has a few artist-producer series plugins. This, by far, in my opinion, is the best one, especially for vocals. It sounds great. You just throw it on, and immediately, let me take off the other plugins on this, and we'll A-B this with Chris Lord Algae on it.
They say that there's no such thing as fate, but I don't trust much of it.
So the thing that I really like about the CLA vocal plugin here is I don't really touch the EQ a whole lot in here. It's pretty much staying where it is. The compression I don't touch because I use other compressors. But what we have here is we have a tight reverb, a slap delay, and this stereo control is really nice. If I boost this up,
they say that there's no sight.
it really widens the vocal.
They say that there's no sight. Thing is fake, but they say that there's no sight.
So I love that plugin, and that's what's going on there. Now the next thing that I'll use is the RVox. This is a compressor, and this is my favorite compressor for vocals. It looks old, it is old, but it works wonders. You can compress the hell out of your vocal and it still sounds good. So I'm slamming this.
Thing is fake, but I don't try.
Like, that's a lot of compression.
Much of anything that comes from. Now that I can.
So that is a lot of compression right there, right? And that the compression's at about negative 15.5, the gain's at negative 4.6, so it doesn't clip. But what I've in effect done is just really slam the signal of the track and even out the transient.
They say that there's no sight. Thing is fake, but I don't trust much of anything. They say that there's no.
So on most compressors, if you went down halfway on a compression slider, it would probably be less musical than this, but this plugin works really well for that. So that's my general chain on her vocals in this track. That's kind of like the building block for it to get the volume, because I'm getting a lot more volume now because I'm driving the signal into this virtual channel. I also have the RVox going to be adding some volume. If I turn these two off, let's A/B this real quick. Here are both of those on.
They say that there's no sight. Thing is fake, but I don't try.
And then off.
They say that there's.
So it's adding a lot of dynamic range and just overall volume to the track, which is helpful with the vocals. Now, the buses. Let's talk about bussing. Always throw your reverbs on a bus because it's helpful to be able to just control the wet signal entirely independent from the actual dry signal. So that's why I have Valhalla Plate. If you don't know what Valhalla is, Valhalla Plate or Valhalla DSP, they make some of the best reverb plugins out there, and they're only $50 a pop. So Plate Vocal or Plate Reverb, it's a really popular reverb on vocals, so I'm using that here.
They say that there's no.
You notice the mix is at 100%, and then I'm just using this as a bus or an aux send, which is splitting the signal, going to a new kind of a ghost track or fader, running the audio into the reverb and back out into the input of this track and back out of it. That's kind of how a bus works in Crash Course, I guess. But then I also have Isotope Nectar. I do like using this plugin to do some creative things on buses. I will sometimes even use it on the actual track itself. But I have a really weird kind of an ambient sounding preset that I messed around with on this. If we solo that.
They say that there's no sight. Thing is fake, but I don't try. Much of anything that comes from. Now that I can.
All right, so I'm going to go and mess with the delay a little bit. Let's turn the delay down to about an eighth note there, and we'll turn the wet down as well.
They say that there's no sight. Thing is fake, but anything.
So it's kind of like my EQ'd out, scooped out. There's not a lot of low frequencies, mid frequency content in this, and it's doing a little bit of delay.
They say that there's no sight. Thing is fake, but
and that delay on its own might sound a little bit weird, but it'll thicken up a little bit of the spaces. And I might do a more of a call and response delay a little bit later for the track. But for now, that'll help get it to sit better in the instrumental.
They say that there's no sight. Thing is fake, but I don't trust much of anything that comes from. Now that I can't see or touch, but you got this that I can feel. Hands that hold and eyes so clear. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, so that's the general way that I'm going to mix the vocals for this track. And I might, like I said, I might add those UAD plugins. Let's address the harmony vocals real quick.
You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, so what I'm going to do with this is she only recorded one. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this and kind of make a pseudo double. So we're going to copy and paste these out a little bit.
That's so clear. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, so what we're going to do this double, I'm going to use Melodyne. This is kind of a really cool tip and trick, guys. So we discussed Melodyne a little bit earlier in the tutorial course, but you can actually use it to create some doubles. So the reason why you can't just copy and paste the vocal out and then pan it left and right is because it's not an actual double. It's just making it louder. We can't actually discern that it's two separate sources. So no matter how well you play something, no matter how well the guitarist, vocalist, how good and talented that they may be, it doesn't matter. You won't ever sing it or play it the exact same 2 times in a row. So that those slight differences in timing, intonation, all that stuff adds up to what we hear as a double. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this into Melodyne real quick.
That's so clear. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, Melodyne's going to analyze it, and definitely not in B minor. This track is in E minor. So, well, it's probably not important for this. It's because it's reading the harmony. But what we're going to do here, click Command plus to zoom in. I'm going to highlight all the tracks for this, and let's see what we got. Yeah, it's all pretty much in tune. But I'm not going to worry about the notes that it's saying. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Edit. Or is it under Options? I believe it's under Edit. We're going to go to, here it is, Add Random Deviations. We're going to do Pitch. Let's do Pitch, Subtle. And then with them selected, let's go to Timing, Moderate. Now let's listen to these. These are going to be more like a double.
You can see me through the smoke now.
All right, so sounds more like flanging.
You can see me.
So let's highlight the Melodyne track again, and we're going to go to Edit. We're going to go to Random Deviations. We'll do Pitch, Moderate, and let's try it again.
You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, there's hard left and hard right.
You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
So yeah, you can use this to create a double. And it's not delay, it's not delaying or offsetting the signal, it's actually changing how the performance was. And sometimes I like to even mess with the formants a little bit.
You can see me through the smoke now. You can see me through the smoke now.
All right, let's do it one more time and see what happens. Let's do Pitch, Subtle again.
You can see me through the smoke now.
It sounds a little bit more doubly. So if it does it too tightly, it sounds a little bit like a actual flange. So what I'm going to chop this and chop it right there, chop it right there. And we're going to bounce that in place. So let's do that now. So I'm going to Command or Control B this.
Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, so there it is. There's a way that you can create doubles outside of the typical way of like changing your EQ curve, doing that sort of stuff. So let's listen to these now.
You can see me through the smoke now. Hands it on and eyes so clear. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, I don't want them panned out that wide because it's in a verse.
Hands it on and eyes so clear. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now. Eyes so clear. You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like
All right, so going to do kind of have it leaning towards the left one a little bit more, but let's take Melodyne off of that because Melodyne sometimes force or crashes Logic, unfortunately. All right, so we have that done. Now, everything's sitting in the mix fairly well in the verse, I guess.
You can see me through the smoke now. Got me feeling like I'm home now.
All right, let's check out the pre-chorus section.
Say it all, say it all, say it all now. Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all, say it all. I would ride for you, I would die for you. Under it, but I would.
All right, so let's I turned everything down so that my voice is a little bit more equal with the
Home now. Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all, say it all now. Lay it all, lay it all, lay it all down. Say it all, say it all, say it all. I would ride for you.
All right, so let's copy and paste this one down because I changed some things on it. And this is going to be that hook, the breakdown hook preset chain. Again, I might add a UAD plugin to it or two to really clean it up and make it sound larger than life. But so this is just the second way that I'm going to really kind of start to mix the vocals, because now I know, because now my vocal doesn't sound razor thin. I can actually play with the synths, layer the sounds.
Ride for you, I would die for you. Under oath, but I would lie for you.
So now I know how loud things are going to sit. So otherwise, I may not need, if you're taking the least important element of your track, and in this part of the track, it'd be the chords or like the bass or the drums, and you're kind of not taking into consideration the volume or the dynamic relationship between those instruments with the most important element of the track, it's kind of all for naught. I could have layered this synth sound three or four more sounds deep. But it's just not going to work. And I think I added a Serum LFO. I think I added that to it from when we were last. But it's the Synthmaster sound, the Spire sound, and the Serum one. So I don't need to do a boatload of synths with this. It's just going to fit nicer with the vocals if it's probably these three.
Ride for you, I would die for you. Under it, but I would lie for you. I'm a mind for you, pay the price for you.
All right, guys, that sums up this little two-part look at how I go about kind of mixing the vocals to get them primed to do and finish up the rest of the track. So the track's probably about 60-70% of the way there. What we're going to do in the next video is start to look at layering some synth sounds. We're going to add a sub bass, then we're going to build out a little drop, copy and paste the arrangement over for the second verse, second breakdown, the second drop sections. And then after that, we are going to actually get into mixing and finalizing the track. So I'll see you guys there.
If you like this course, why not head over to sonicacademy.com, where we have hundreds of complete track builds in every genre imaginable, including all the project files and samples. You'll also find tutorials on plugins and synths, mixing and mastering, over 250 tech tips, artist interviews, along with our award-winning plugins, samples and preset packs.